Welcome to another edition of the Around the NFL broadcast. My name is Dan Hansis. There's heroes here in the Chris Wessling podcast studio. Greg Rosenthal, Mark Sessler. Happy weekend, boys.
Yeah. Okay. We're close. I just want, it's like we always start the show, there's some banter, and that, like, we're used to that.
Right.
We don't have a lot of yas to start, you know.
You know, it's becoming, we're getting close to Christmas, and I know we all got these great Christmas cards from Jason Brooksby, our producer.
What a family.
Class.
Wow.
He said, a little note that I got, he said, I didn't add a note to the other guys' cards, but wanted to let you know what a pleasure it is working with you specifically.
Our producer said that to you alone.
Wow.
So
that's good to note. You know what? But, you know, Jason...
He just threw the Christmas card. Didn't, like, show the beautiful picture of his wife and kids.
No.
Literally
it's a beautiful
threw it
family.
for, like, someone to pick up.
But Mr. Brooksby, our producer, it's the gift that keeps giving. Because you know, Greg, we've been tracking it this season. Mark's habits in the morning.
Yeah.
We tape at 10 a.m., but he's been known to get into the building in the 5 a.m. hour.
Strange.
And he has denied it, even though we've had some eyewitness accounts. Well, guess what? Now we have some video evidence. Let's go to it right here. Coming in. Look at the time, 4:51 a.m. this morning. Here he comes, classic Mark. I think we have another shot here, so that's entering the building.
Not me.
That is how he walks. I recognize that Sessler walk.
This looks like a burglar or a robber or something.
All right, I think we got something else here, and now...
Strangely light out at 4:54.
Now look at that. Yeah, well, it's an infrared technology. And then we have, yes, look at, there he is.
I mean, I don't appear to be very productive, just walking around. That is not me.
Well, now is your time to come clean, that you have been coming in at an absurdly early time ahead of our tapings on today.
I mean, I will play along with whatever you'd like me to do with the bit, but that person in the hood...
it's not a bit.
I mean, that's not playing along, first of all. And then
exactly.
Right, that's the opposite of playing along. Second of all, this should be good for your brand. It's like, I work hard. I'm the JJ Watt. Okay.
Rise and grind.
So what if I let everyone know that I'm there that early, but I'm working hard?
I do get up early. I have shifted my line of production to do a lot of it at home and then come in at a more appropriate time to avoid all of this shenanigans. And instead, you know, we've cooked up fake videotape.
What do you mean fake? I mean, the weirdness is that you won't just own up to it. All right.
Who is it, is what I want to know.
The Around the NFL podcast, you can check it out 4 times a week. We're on that, but we're on this too. And it's called Around the NFL because we're going to go around the NFL for the next 2 hours, starting with the Afc West. Woo. Get us going, Greg, with the team that had a big win on Thursday Night Football.
Watching that game, I think more than any time all year, the last 3 drives, it was the Chiefs being the Chiefs. It was a touchdown, touchdown, touchdown. And it started to me with Patrick Mahomes almost wanting things to be difficult. I don't think he loves it when he just has to make a bunch of 7 or 8 yard throws. That 2-point conversion to me was such a telling play in Mahomes' night. He has the number 17 Hardman wide open in the flat. Then he has a secondary receiver wide open over the middle. Doesn't take either one of those. I'm not sure why. But then he does what he does and makes a play on his own, moving to his right, finding a receiver. It almost is like he thrives when he has the tough plays. And that's what he was making late in that game, was a lot of improvisational plays.
I was fortunate enough to be at this game. I'm seated behind the play on the opposite end zone. And I'm watching him go through his progressions. And when he makes that throw, I'm like, how did he just do that? How did he process all that and take a hit? And then I look back up. I was with my sons and my wife. I look back up, and there's a maniac sprinting down the field celebrating. And it's Mahomes, like, just living the moment and enjoying the greatness that's within him on display in a primetime stage. It was a nice reminder of how great he truly is.
You know, Travis Kelce said that when they were struggling and the turnovers were happening and they were just doing the sort of ugly Chiefs thing, that he basically walked up to Mahomes and said, "We believe in you, dude. Let's go get this done." And a lot of times that stuff just doesn't seem to matter. But last night felt like sort of a watershed moment to me where the doubts around Kansas City's offense, I don't have them anymore. They seem to be heating up after an autumn nap to some degree. They are up and down, but when you have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce with the results they had last night, I don't know. My faith is reborn that they're not going to coast into a wild card loss or something.
They're the number 1 seed once again. And after the game, Travis Kelce, interviewed by Michael Irvin, they're playing a chip on our shoulder card. They're saying everybody's been doubting 1-5 being Mahomes. You should not doubt that man.
Right. He did slow down for most of that game. They had the opening drive touchdown. They do that every week. Then a big slumber. But the way he finished, he just feels like he's a guy who thrives in chaos a little bit. He doesn't want it to be ordinary. And, yeah, we got to see that last.
All right, how about the Chargers, Mark?
The Chargers, I know, driving in at 3:30 a.m. in the morning, according to these guys, listening to a little AM talk radio, and it's like, I get it. It's a talk radio subject about the fourth down attempts that Los Angeles is going to do every time. I love Brandon Staley's approach. I mean, yes, in theory it cost them points, but this is the NFL now, and he basically said that's the way we're going to play around here. And he says when you have a quarterback like Justin Herbert, I'm putting it in his hands on fourth down, and I think ultimately they will be proven to be completely correct on this. The analytics say it, we get all that, but there were a lot of people squawking that they could have, maybe kicked a field goal in some of those situations. They just believe in their identity so much that I'm cool with it.
But you still got to execute. And
no, that's the second part.
They lost the game because they couldn't execute. And that has been a trait after the very beginning of the season where they haven't had a lot of success at times with these moves. So I respect it. I think it takes a lot of onions. But they probably win the game by playing it a little more close to the vest on Thursday night.
I just think that takes agency away from the players. We get so caught up in, you shouldn't have done that fourth down, decision, almost because we can put ourselves in that position of the coach, don't make that decision. But listening to Justin Herbert, he says, having 4 downs is such an advantage for the offense. Keenan Allen says, I love putting it on us. They did convert 2 fourth downs in that game, one of which led to a touchdown, one of which ended up setting up another touchdown. So it's they won the game against the Chargers the first time around because they went for it on 4th and 9. Forget 4th and 2. I just think, let the players try to go win the game, and I had no problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing Staley said when he was hired was, fear is not going to be a motivator for us. And the one thing about Staley
it's also they dropped a ton of passes on 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal.
Yeah,
it's that's
the execution part, you're right. And I think that as teams do this more and more, it's going to become commonplace. They're going to get better at 4th down stuff.
Well, one thing. What about Dustin Hopkins' agency?
Well,
you don't let the man on the field to go win a ball game for you.
Well,
never gave him a chance to kick a field goal.
Well, you're running the kickers club. I could see that would be slightly.
Well, it was the 48-yard field goal. I'm not counting on Dustin Hopkins making that.
I think you should have given him a chance. Let's move on to the Raiders. And the Raiders, their ship has become a floating funeral pyre. And you could say the way things are setting up for the Raiders is perfect for Saturday and not for the reasons any of us want. COVID is rampaging through the NFL and threatening to blow up the entire season. Let's be totally honest about how bad this situation is for the league right now. But the Raiders are going to get a Browns team that is deeply compromised. That might be playing Nick Mullins at quarterback, their 3rd-string quarterback who just came off the practice squad. And yet, I don't trust the Raiders to take care of business and keep their season alive because the version of the Raiders that I saw last week was just like every other Raiders team we've seen since the bye, with the exception of Thanksgiving. I just don't think they have anything left in the tank, especially with Darren Waller out again.
Yeah, losing Darren Waller was a turning point. Having the offensive line turn into a complete wide-open barn door has been a big problem. I don't put it on Derek Carr. I mean, they had 3 killer turnovers that put them in a 35-0 hole against the Chiefs a week ago, and they weren't on Derek Carr. I mean, it's they are a team that has not figured out how to diagnose the best team in their division, and I don't trust them on any level. They're starting to fade. I mean, they've been through a lot, and you just feel the bottom falling out. I mean, Cleveland should be a layup for them, and I don't trust it to be.
The Browns are missing so many players, but their defensive line, Cleveland's, is pretty healthy, and you mentioned the offensive line for Las Vegas, and go win a ball game, Myles Garrett, Jadeveon Clowney, that whole group, Malik Jackson. I think they could do it. I'm with you guys that basically no game is a layup for the Raiders right now.
And this should be the one where we take this gift, we bank it. But what I saw against the Chiefs by the Raiders last week, and yes, the Chiefs are surging, the Chiefs are the #1 seed, but the lack of competitive spirit, it just summoned memories of Raiders seasons past that we're back here again. And yes, they have an interim coach. They're missing their most dynamic offense player in Waller. We know everything that happened with Henry Ruggs being out of the picture now. And I just don't think there's much left with this team. Maybe they'll prove us wrong or prove me wrong. We will see. Finally, Greg, the Broncos.
Well, there's a lot left with this Denver Broncos team. I know you guys don't want to hear it, but Teddy starting a playoff game is oh so close. It could happen.
Pinch me.
It could happen. This Broncos team, I think, is coming together at the right time. First of all, the offense is healthier than it's been. 12th in DVOA, better than average in
look
general.
Look at this dynamic play.
That was pretty good, right?
Unbelievable.
It's a running team. But that's what you want when Teddy Bridgewater is your quarterback. If they had been a good defense all year, I think they would have been the Broncos team that I was hoping for. Maybe a 10-11 win type of team. They have Cincinnati this week, then Vegas, Chargers, Chiefs. So it is difficult. You're probably going to have to go 3-1. This game against Cincinnati is fascinating to me.
I mean, Greg is playing the hits. Greg, Dan and I have been dealing with Greg's Teddy Bridgewater fetish all year long.
Here we are, mid-December, and we're pretty close to it. It feels like you guys have been saying,
what a revelation! What a revelation!
No,
I would say this:
so
go like ask actual Broncos fans. You're more excited about the Broncos than most Broncos fans are right now. It's just, I think this is a situation where it's like, cool, they're here. But walk into any bar room and say, how jazzed up is anyone about the Broncos getting there with Teddy Bridgewater?
Framing it the way you are, Greg, Teddy starting a playoff game is closer than you think. Remember when our dearly departed friend Wes used to get mad at me when I used to say, oh, Brock Osweiler led the Texans to the playoffs? It's the same thing.
That's different.
Like, if they make the playoffs, it's going to be because Vic Fangio has been scheming up defenses to beat teams.
But their offense is
and their
better
running
than their
game with Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams has been very good of late. It's not because of your boy.
It's partly, though, first of all, because he was playing Drew Lock, but because they're getting competent play. I know analytics aren't everything, but if you look at expected points added, completion percentage over expected, there's a stat that combines them both. And now, maybe this shows the shortcomings of those stats. Number 1 in that stat this year, Kyler Murray. Number 2, Aaron Rodgers. Number 3, your boy Teddy Bridgewater, just ahead of Tom Brady. He's in the MVP mix.
Except
so they've been efficient.
Except the minute the season ends, their primary focus is to be wresting Aaron Rodgers away from Green Bay.
They couldn't get him out of the building fast enough.
What I'm saying is average quarterback play, and he's provided that this year, is worth a lot. You know, it's worth a lot more.
See, only a Teddy Bridgewater fan would say that. That is what it comes down to. Average quarterback play is enough. AFC North coming up next. And by the way, that will take care of itself. Sunday night, we'll be talking about a huge Teddy turnover that cost him a game. We'll talk about that Sunday. All right, but that's the podcast. This is the TV show. AFC North up next. All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Around the NFL broadcast. It is time for the AFC North, and I will start us out and talk about the AFC North leaders. How much longer they'll be the leaders? You know, with or without Lamar, this offense is a total mess. And we don't know where Lamar's at physically as we approach Week 15. He's got an ankle sprain. They say it's not a high ankle sprain, but he hasn't been practicing, so you have to see where this all comes down. But look at the Browns game as an example. Yes, Tyler Huntley had to come in and get them back into that game. The offense was not moving with Lamar, and it's just crazy when you think about what they were early in the season, where they seemed like they were putting things together from a passing attack angle to where they are now. There's just nothing working.
It's so surprising because the Ravens, to me, have been defined under John Harbaugh by figuring out their problems and closing strong. If you look at their November, December records over the year, it's awesome. Even including that year when Lamar came in as the starter. And this year, it's been the opposite. Injuries, I think, are the main part of the story on defense. On offense, while the offensive line has been bad, you talked about the scheme not really coming up with answers for the coverages that they're seeing. And the running game, to me, has just missed J.K. Dobbins. It's missed Gus Edwards. Running backs do matter, at least like when you have the running backs that they have in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, they're built to value the running backs, and they were stripped of them early on, and the replacements haven't been difference makers. Lamar hasn't been a difference maker when he's got the turnovers going the way they do. It was last year that Lamar Jackson said, people have figured out this offense. Hollywood Brown was complaining about that as well. And all offseason was, we're going to become a little bit more pass heavy. We're going to become a little more balanced. And they were early in the year.
They were more vertical. I mean, they did
were
throw
early
the
in the
ball
year,
well
but
down the field.
I would track to if you look at their tackle situation, I think a lot of pressure is coming from the outside on Lamar. And teams have found a way just to neutralize what he does and what they do.
And he didn't practice all week. So his status is very uncertain.
And Tyler Huntley, he deserves credit for getting them back in that game.
But backup.
He's obviously a downgrade from Lamar. And it's just like they have Hollywood Brown. They have Sammy Watkins. They have Rashad Bateman, a first-round pick. They have Mark Andrews, one of the best tight ends in the league. It should be there if they can give him the blocking and Lamar can execute, but it just hasn't happened for weeks, and it's a real concern. Greg, the Cleveland Browns.
So the COVID story is the main story for the Cleveland Browns this week. But I'm going to try to spin positive somewhat. Mark Sessler thinks that there's some sort of media conspiracy against Myles Garrett winning the Defensive Player of the Year. This is the Browns fan in him.
Is that true?
Coming out. Yeah, he's like people just don't want to give this award to Garrett.
I wonder why some people don't like Myles Garrett.
Oh,
Oh yeah, no, we have to always
believe
one side of a story.
He had one bad incident. But he's also known as a great dude for the most part. I'm willing to forgive that one incident.
Sure
He's been great. My point is, Saturday, it's on you, Myles. Dan asked, he's like, all right, Myles Garrett, it's like, why don't you just make a play that changes the game? How about the fact that they won last week because he sacked a guy, picked up the ball, scored a touchdown.
Huge.
Do it again on Saturday. It's like, that's how you win an award.
That was a signature play that I think, everyone sees, and it's like, bang, you get votes for Defensive Player of the Year. If against the Raiders, he becomes a one-man force on an island game where they win 18-16 and he's, tipped a ball that gets picked off. He sacks Derek Carr 3 times. Then I'm not saying there's a conspiracy. That's a strong word. But I think that there's just people want to look elsewhere than Myles Garrett, whether or not he's the best defensive player in the year.
I don't think so.
You do a little bit.
I think it's just like an open competition here, and I would vote him today.
Maybe when I say people, I'm just looking at Dan essentially, because I think Dan is a little bit of an anti-Myles Garrett thing on some level.
I lost respect for him for that Pittsburgh incident. There's no doubt about it. So maybe that plays into it. But I think T.J. Watt to me has been a better defender. But the fact that he hasn't been able to stay healthy gives Garrett the chance. There's no doubt Myles Garrett is as talented as anybody, and his numbers and his production when you watch the games, he's always involved, even when he's not stuffing the stat sheet. But what about Aaron Donald? Hey, how about
Parsons,
that?
Those would be my 4. Although why is it always like pass rushers? But it is. I think Donald would be in my mix, but I think I would go Garrett, Parsons, Watt, Donald. But the last month matters a lot.
I like that order.
Hey, the season doesn't start till after Thanksgiving. Mark, Bengals.
Oh, the Bengals. I'm a little annoyed. I mean, it was just weeks ago that I was
Mark.
like, and I'm a Browns fan, and I was getting jazzed up about Cincinnati and what.
Why were you so excited in retrospect? What was it that just got you so excited?
I think I just developed an idea that my Bengals love was going to translate into facts.
He was going to ride this take to the top of takesmanship.
Yeah.
He was so big on the Bengals. I like that idea.
Nothing lasts for more than a week, and I get that now. But I would just say this. I think one of the talking points coming out of that loss to the Niners was, come on, Zach Taylor, with this kicking field goals on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. I would point to the Chargers, and again to Brandon Staley saying, we're just going to put it into the hands
of our star
quarterback.
Because that's an easy connection to make, but you could say the Chargers lost because they were too gung-ho in those situations.
I would trust them over 17 games, though, to have that mentality that Joe Burrow, he is the sun we revolve around. let him take it on every important down, not kick the ball on 4th and 1 and 4th and 2. They lost that game too, by the way.
Well, the defense has to have some responsibility with that too. I mean, just get a stop and they let him go right down the field, San Francisco, to win that game. I don't know. It's just like the Zach Taylor thing this week has been a little bit on my radar. I don't know. It's the only thing we're talking about the Bengals, about how bad Zach Taylor was this past week. And it's like, how about some accountability from the guys on the field that weren't able to close that game out?
Well, like I said, they're a flip-flop team, and it's not a flip-flop coach. It's the whole Bengals operation that one week they make me think they're going to the Super Bowl. The next week, I don't know they're making the playoffs.
It's because you look at the offense, and Joe Burrow, I think, is playing like a top 10 quarterback. Maybe top 6 or 7 right now. He's been fantastic. Joe Mixon, one of the best running backs in the league. This receiver group is great. And yet, you look at the numbers, and the sum of their parts is not adding up to like a greater whole. They're a below-average offense over the course of the season.
Some weeks it is, though. They're blowout Baltimore.
I don't know if that, maybe the numbers or the analytics say that, but Joe Mixon's having a big year. The quarterback, Joe Burrow's having a big year. They have Jamar Chase, who is a rookie of the year. T. Higgins has become a player. Their tight ends doing things.
But they'll be like stuck on 6 points until the fourth quarter like they were a week ago. Happens too much. I don't get it.
Well, like every team in the AFC, basically.
I don't know. I look at the Bengals this year and I see progress under Zach Taylor, but I don't know.
I do too, but I maybe overshot what I thought they were going to accomplish.
How about the Steelers, Mark?
I think the Steelers can stick it to people like me, the 17-game schedule haters who said, it's too asymmetrical.
Football was family. That's the motto.
Right. That extra week feels like an extra month to some of us. But listen to this. They are the only chance that we have for a team to go 8-1. How about this? Titans coming up. You beat the Titans, okay? You go 7-6-1. You lose to the Chiefs, of course. You go 7-7-1. You lose to the Browns, because that's going to happen. You go 7-8-1. And then Big Ben closes out his Steelers career, going 8-8-1 with a win over the Ravens. And you've done something that is very tricky. To get to count on the tie, but then 8 wins and 8 losses. We could go 25 years without that happening again. So let's do it right now and make this schedule thing a little more likable.
I appreciate how invested you are in this 8-8-1 bit. I just want to say that.
I think I think he really does want it. I don't think the Steelers care about it, or their fans, although their fans are pretty invested in the idea that Mike Tomlin keeps up his 500 or better streak going, like at least go out with that. But I think they would rather make the playoffs than go 8-8-1.
How annoying will it be, Mark, when the Steelers go 8-8-1 and win the AFC North?
I kind of
or they go 9-7-1 and like the Browns miss the playoffs because they're 9-8.
That's much more annoying. 8-8-1 and winning a division would be absolutely brilliant. I would love it.
Isn't that like maybe a fate that we could see in the AFC? It's been such a strange division.
Yeah.
And the Steelers, in a lot of ways, they represent that division. There's been some highs, there's been some lows, there's been some really ugly moments, and then some moments where you're like, okay, I could talk myself into this team, but they're hard to make sense of.
Plus, you're right about that. It might be the only 8-8-1 team for a long time, because they're going to go to 18-game schedule at some point. And the new model then will be like, remember when football was family a long time ago? It's like that'll be it then. So you got to get the 8-8-1 while you can.
Football is you at the office. That's the next one. By the way, my defensive player of the year pick, TJ Watt. Sticking with it. He's back. He's going to be playing.
If he has a big final month, he's in the mix.
It's like basically anybody but Myles Garrett. That's how no, that's not true.
Look at this guy.
That's not true. Great player. Hey, it's not hard. A number 1 overall pick doesn't always work out. Garrett absolutely has. That's for you, Mark.
Oh, thank you, Dan.
The AFC East is up next. What a player, that Myles Garrett. But we're not talking about him. We're talking about the Patriots and company up next on the broadcast. All right. Welcome back to the broadcast. It is time to hit the AFC East, the division right now run by Greg's New England Patriots.
Is that true? I mean, I guess it
Technically,
is.
right now, they're in control.
They're ahead. And one of the things I've heard this week, including from the Indianapolis Colts, is that they want to make the Patriots one-dimensional. And it's like, how dare you? How dare you, Bobby Okereke? It's like, I dare you to make the Patriots one-dimensional. Dare! I mean, this is the most balanced team in the league. Passing, running, run defense, pass defense, special teams. Actually, the Colts are the only other team, I believe, that are in the top 10 in DVOA in offense, defense, and special teams. They're very balanced as well. But teams that have tried to stop the run, sold out to stop the run. I'm thinking of that Cowboys game. I'm thinking of the Titans game. Patriots have been very comfortable throwing the ball 35 times when they have the right matchups, and Mac Jones has delivered. That's why we've been giving him his hosannas. You don't need to do it every week, but if you try to take away the running game, Mac Jones will make you pay.
They're also one of the healthiest teams in football, and I really just hear the Colts saying, we want to do what we know the Patriots are going to do to us. Probably make us one-dimensional and make us work out of that situation.
Little projection.
The biggest play of the game on offense against the Bills, their last game, New England had a bye last week, was Damian Harris, 65 yards. He's not playing. He was downgraded on Friday to out in this game. I think that there's the touchdown right there. I know Stevenson has really stepped up, so they have depth at that position. I think Harris not being in is going to matter. All right, listen, what am I going to say? The Patriots are winning every week, but I guess I have to be on board now that Mac Jones is beyond even questioning. Like, he will light you up if you give him a chance. Is he really there already?
We're not saying that, but I think in this game between the two quarterbacks, who do I trust more to not make the big mistake? I trust Mac Jones already more than when.
I'll give you that.
And they're not scared to use him. That's all I'd say. I mean, there's this like, oh, well, Mac Jones is being kept under a little bubble.
He's had some bad games this year, by the way. He has not been some rookie sensation.
Not disastrous
Absolutely,
games,
but he's been
a few bad ones.
When they let him throw 42 times in the rain against Tom frickin' Brady in his fourth start, like, that's trust. That told me a lot.
Well, they were down, too. They had to get back into the game.
Barely. It was a close game the whole time. Come on.
All right.
We've
jumped out of our Patriots.
I am.
They were
Everyone's playing their role right now.
They're throwing it early.
I can't wait until that game Saturday night. That is a great matchup.
I don't feel great. If I was thinking the Patriots are going to lose one game the rest of the year, I think this is that game. But
Interesting. Mark, the Bills, they can't lose. They got to keep winning now.
Oh, yeah. Keep telling me about Buffalo's top-ranked defense.
Oh, takedown.
I'm a little annoyed.
This was your team last year.
Why do you hate the Bills now? It's because you love Belichick so much?
I do not hate them at all. In fact, I love Western New York. I was born in Western New York.
I mean, you claim a lot of places. I thought you were born in London. You know, you're born in Surrey, England.
You've claimed England, Connecticut, and Western New York.
I was born in one place, and it was
and
Rochester,
Lake Happiness, the camp there.
When did you move?
The summer
At
camp.
age 3.
How did that impact you? Just like,
I mean, to the fact that we're talking about it right now during Buffalo's thing. Here's the thing, Bills, this top-ranked defense, how about don't give up 260 yards on the ground to the Colts in a big showdown? Don't give up 220-plus to the Patriots. Don't let Leonard Fournette gash you last week for a 47-yard touchdown run. Don't let Rashad Perriman have a huge catch at the end of the game to end overtime. Like, big plays, I get it. If you look at some of their top performances on defense, they came against a cast of ham and eggers. Like, I think Buffalo, you got to go show me something down this next month if you're going to make the playoffs. This defense, to me, is more highly rated than it is in reality.
So you're kind of saying don't keep telling me about the defense. You bring up good points, though, about the competition when they've excelled, and that was with Tre'Davious White. To me, that's so huge. And the other thing I've noticed lately is the young pass rushers. Remember, we spent like the whole offseason. Okay, it's like Boogie Basham and Russo and AJ Epinesa. It's going to change this team's biggest weakness.
I mean, you spent the offseason saying that.
I don't know. They haven't done anything lately. They have no pass rush from their young guys. Your old guy that you went on a trip with, Mario Addison, is like the only guy they have left.
Reliable.
Here's the thing, Bills Nation, they're looking at the schedule. They see it. They have a rematch with New England next week, and I'm really excited to see how that plays out. But even if they lose again and the division goes bye-bye, Carolina this week, take care of business. Atlanta the week after at home, take care of business. Jets at home, take care of business. I think this is a playoff team. I think this is a 10-7 playoff.
And I think they can win this division. Because I think if the Patriots lose this week, all the Bills got to do is go win a ball game next week. I think that's
they got to win out.
It's possible, right? But
this team has been disappointing this year. Right?
Yeah,
There's no way around
I don't trust them to do everything you guys just said.
I trust them to beat those 3 other teams. It comes down to the Patriots, and they need a little help from the Patriots.
All right, let's move on to the Dolphins. Are the Miami football Dolphins, in all due respect, they're on a nice little winning streak, playing the most favorable schedule in NFL history? Look at their schedule. Look who they've been beating during this winning streak. And I'll give you the Ravens game. If somebody could pull up the schedule, that would really help because I wish I had it right now. They beat the Ravens on Thursday night. That was a nice win, although now we see the Ravens are a bit of a mess. But we'll give them that. All these other wins have been against, you want to talk about ham and eggers. It's a who's who of ham and eggers. Read them off, Mark.
All right. These are the ham and eggers that were taken out by the Dolphins in this streak. The Texans, the Ravens you mentioned, the Jets, the Panthers, and the Giants. So you've got a case. I would mention this, though. Early in the year, tough schedule. They had the Patriots, the Bills, the Colts, and the Bucs in the first 5 weeks.
Right, and they lost all of them. Except for the Patriots.
I'm just saying it hasn't been the Jets for 17 straight weeks, but it has been.
And who do they have this week?
Now they've got the Jets coming up again. So,
it's an incredible stretch of schedule fortuity, and I give them credit for winning these games, and they'll win again on Sunday, but I don't have to be impressed or see them as a real threat in the AFC.
No, I'm looking at their schedule, strength of schedule. They're listed at least as the 6th easiest for over the course of the season. So even if you take those early games, they've benefited. I think the AFC East in general has benefited from getting to play the Jets twice, and the out-of-division schedule has not been that difficult. With all that said, they don't check your strength of schedule when you make the playoffs if you win 8 straight or whatever it's going to be. So they got a chance to do it. I really expect that Week 18 game against the Patriots to have playoff implications for the Dolphins. I think they'll at least be alive going into it.
Let me ask you a question. I'll ask you guys both a question. Do you want to see Joe Burrow in the playoffs on Wild Card Weekend? Do you want to see Justin Herbert in the playoffs on Wild Card Weekend?
Yeah, love Herbert.
Or do you want to see the Dolphins in the playoffs?
Not a bingo.
Or Greg's Broncos in the playoffs?
Not a bingo, no.
I hope this sorts out in a way that brings excitement to the Wild Card Weekend.
Tua versus Teddy, just a lot of 6-yard throws.
Greg on my Jets.
Oh, the Jets. I'm going to are we going to talk about Zach Wilson one more week? No, I'm not.
Good.
It's more, I was watching the crowd last week, and I was just thinking, this happens late in the season. The Jets fans, I'm just impressed by their hardiness. I'm impressed, there's so many people there, and they're still cheering. It's sort of madness with some of these organizations like the Jets, who I think right now are in as bad of a streak, and I know the Jets have had some bad ones, but the last handful of years, especially these last 2 in a row, it's a miracle they're getting as many people in the crowd. Any other business that had this poor of a product for this many years in a row, they wouldn't have everyone just keep buying their stuff. So, let's not take advantage, Jets organization.
Thank you for bringing that up, because Jets fans deserve better than what the organization has given them. It's the longest playoff drought in football. It's 11 straight years. And beyond that, it's been embarrassing for many of these years. There's been so many lowlights, whether you want to go butt fumble or Tebow or the Darnold mess or Geno Smith getting his jaw punched out or this or that. It's just there's so many things that have made this such a hard team to root for. It's why when I went to a Chargers game on Thursday night, I introduced my boys to Justin Herbert and said, feast your eyes on this. Get involved with the Chargers, your Los Angeles children. Because the Jets simply have not given me the opportunity to hand them down to my sons. I won't do it.
Three or 4 years ago, when you were contemplating which teams your children would root for, you were pro-Jets. You were thinking, we're going to do this. Your mind has been changed, and I think that's a sign of maturity. Let them have fun.
Well, one time since 2015 have they even won more than 5 games, and that was a season coached by Adam Gase that started 1-7. So that's a 6 or 7 year stretch here where at no point was there hope in a season. And that's a lot to ask, season after season without hope.
Yeah, so my dad, Keith, he's a hardy Jets fan. I consider myself a hardy Jets fan, but there is a limit. We've hit the limit. There needs to be some progress, or that stadium will eventually empty out to dark levels.
It's called break the cycle.
Still showing up, though. Still pretty loud.
Yeah, it's still fun to go down to... You get off on Route 3 and you go into the MetLife Stadium. You can get there from the Parkway or the Turnpike.
New Jersey is a beautiful, beautiful place.
It's the Middlelands. All right, AFC South coming up next. This seems early for the AFC South on our show. Good for them. Up next to the broadcast.
It's 4.
Welcome back to the broadcast. It is time now to hit the AFC South. Let's get to it, and we'll start with the Titans. It's Operation Oh No. Only need one. Just get a victory here, and the division's going to be yours. Okay, let's take a look at their schedule right here. At Steelers versus Niners versus Dolphins, at Texans.
But they're doing this thing.
They're going to beat the Texans, obviously, but they need one more. Okay?
Okay.
So I look past the Texans week 18. That's money in the bank. Win one of these 3 games upcoming, and the Colts can only tie you, and the Colts got swept by the Titans. So that's where we're at. It's that simple for the Titans.
They might get Uno, or they might get one Saturday night when the Colts play the Patriots.
There you go.
Dan's a baseball guy. Ooh, America's game. What a tradition. America's pastime.
National pastime.
You know what they do? They have the magic number. The Titans' official magic number is 2. So the combination of the Colts and Titans. But I want to see what this. I don't know what's going to happen. Dan stole Titans Steelers from me in our draft on the podcast.
Huge.
Weirdly, this is the game I really want to see because I don't know what's going to happen at all.
I mean, I think if you get the version that they played last week, and I know it was the Jaguars, so it almost doesn't count, but they were mistake-free on offense and got just enough from a cobbled-together group of contributors, and the defense played great and generated turnovers. Pittsburgh is a very beatable subject, depending on which version you get. They've been a little spicy.
This is why this is a good matchup, because I think a lot of people, and I think this is maybe part of the reason, Greg, you're so intrigued by the game. We want to see where are the Titans at right now. It's getting into late December. Where are they at? I know they have Julio Jones back. They don't have A.J. Brown back yet. Derrick Henry not yet. But on the road against a Pittsburgh team that's desperate, win that game. I don't care if the Steelers are not the Steelers of yesterday. That's still a good win for the Titans that gets them to 10-4, and you start to feel better and better about them as we get closer to the playoffs.
How about Julio Jones, become an X factor? I didn't see too much from him last week or in a while.
He at least makes defenses have to play a little differently. I don't think Tannehill's had any chance without both of his wide receivers out. So maybe even if Julio Jones isn't lighting up the box score like he did in Atlanta, maybe he's draws some attention, makes a play here or there. We're lowering the bar.
Sounds good, yeah.
The expectation bar has been lowered. Greg, Colts.
The next 2 weeks are just going to tell us so much about this Colts team. This could be the best team that doesn't make the playoffs, and it's really because of the schedule. You have the Patriots this week and the Cardinals a week from now, and it's really Carson Wentz because I feel like I know the rest of the Colts team. And I know what I've seen from Carson Wentz. I think they've done a pretty good job with Carson Wentz, and he's done a good job. Certainly his numbers say so. But then you think of those games that they did blow. The Ravens game. The Titans game the first time around. The times that they haven't been able to close out games, I think have been partly because Carson Wentz has made big mistakes in big moments. And these are 2 defensive coordinators, Vance Joseph, Bill Belichick, that will make you think and maybe make you make mistakes.
The thing that I like is that he's got 5 interceptions on the year. This is not the Wentz that was dragging the Eagles down last year, who seemed from the neck up totally lost and having lost confidence. What we talked about all offseason was Frank Reich will coach him up. He'll be in a good environment is true. And I think that when you've got a quarterback with his first year with a new team, it's going to take some time to heat up. And we're starting to see that. You're going to get Belichick trying to do the old Marshall Faulk in the Rams' first Super Bowl thing where you're going to take him out and put it all on another part of the offense. And I trust him to do that. But Wentz, if he plays the way we've seen, I think that it's not just him. This is a really balanced, well-built team.
He had that one terrible game where he threw the 2 picks. Otherwise, he's been really good for them. But I'm with you. I don't think it's okay to trust Wentz at this point and feel good about it. I think Colts fans feel the same way, even if they don't want to admit it. But if you go and deliver a big game on primetime against the Patriots, all of a sudden, their ceiling goes up a notch.
This is the biggest Colts game in 5 years, and I don't care if they made the playoffs here or there. I mean, isn't it that on national TV against the Patriots?
I mean, they were in Buffalo with a lead in the wild card game last year. That's why these 2 games are important. It's going to decide whether my take that Carson Wentz was a significant downgrade from Phillip Rivers was right or wrong.
Still on that corner.
Is right or wrong. Because I got to say, right now, it's pretty close. So if he wins one of these 2, I'll give it to you that there hasn't been much of a difference.
All right.
No difference.
Yeah. Well, you love Phil Rivers, but I do think a wild card playoff game is bigger than this game. I would say that.
Something about this team. I think
felt
this team
like
is
that
more
team had
dangerous.
a chance a year ago. I really thought that team might win a game or 2 in the playoffs.
I see this team as more dangerous with a higher ceiling. We'll see. If you beat the Patriots, that's more memorable, please.
All right. See, it all goes back to Belichick with Sessler. If you beat Bill Belichick, it's huge.
It goes back with 31 other teams to Bill Belichick.
Corner with me.
Play NFL Knockout, the free-to-play game presented by Caesars Sportsbook. Answer 15 questions about the Patriots and Colts to win exclusive prizes, including a VIP package to this year's Super Bowl 56 right here in Los Angeles. Visit NFL.com/knockout.
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Jaguars. How much time for the Jags? Got to give us a minute. That's too depressing. So Urban Meyer out the door. Thank God. Thank God that was the decision they needed to make. Urban Meyer. I think it was an unprecedented garbage spectacle. When you talk about the worst hires in the history of the NFL, I think Meyer is at the top of the list. So the only thing Shad Khan did right was don't wait any longer. Admit your loss, take the L, and it's a huge L at that. Now I just worry about Trevor Lawrence, and have Jaguars already done irreversible damage to Trevor Lawrence? I'm going to say no, but I hate that even that has to be asked. That's how bad this year has been.
I would say no, because with the urgency that they got rid of this terrible situation with Urban Meyer, I mean, a quarterback has to look at his career as like 15 to 20 years long. And I mean, Joe Burrow a year ago, rookie, tears up his knee on a terrible team with a coach under fire. A year later, we're loving Joe Burrow. So I think there's a lot of hope for Trevor Lawrence.
Right. I don't think Trevor Lawrence has shown nearly as much as Burrow did, but I don't think he's shown so much negative. I actually think that his decision-making, his process in all this mess hasn't been terrible. Like, I think just if you watch each and every snap.
I'm looking forward to them putting him on a team with a better offensive cast and a better coach, but do we trust the Jaguars? Mark, good news. You got 3 minutes to break down the Texans.
Well, we need it.
Just solo.
We need it. Yeah, I'll just soliloquy this.
Just kidding.
It has been a great week for the Texans, and here's why. Because you get to go play the Jaguars on Sunday, and for the first time all season, stare across the field and say, look how functional we are compared to what is going on over there. I mean, I do think this other thing, like, it's been awful for Houston. They have a chance in the offseason to recreate themselves. I don't know if I trust anyone in the building to do it.
Who has the better rookie quarterback? They could say that our rookie quarterbacks played better than Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson if they really wanted to.
If they really wanted to, they could say that.
If they really wanted to, they could.
His high moments have probably been a little higher, Davis Mills. How about just play the disrespect card? Week 1. I think they were 3 or 4 point underdogs at home against the Jaguars. Wiped the floor with them. This week, they have the same record as the Jaguars, probably played a little better lately, and they're 5-point underdogs to the Jaguars, coming in with a chip on their shoulder. Let's go, Houston.
And it's like you win and suddenly your draft slot, which should matter a lot to the Texans.
The Rainmaker, put it on you. Let's win.
The Rainmaker, that's Greg, the Rainmaker, and he says get behind the Houston Texans at all costs. So listen up.
Not
all
all
right,
costs.
Let's move on. Goodbye, AFC South. Up next, who's better? Who's better? Jonathan Taylor edition. Your beautiful Bill Belichick edition, Mark Sessler. We're going to dig in next. All right, it's time now for Who's Better, presented by Truist. Let's start. This is a saucy one. Patriots defense or the great Jonathan Taylor having a season so good. There's MVP buzz. Greg, who's better?
I'll go Jonathan Taylor. Does that sound weird? Just because I'm the guy who says great offense beats great defense every time in 2021. And Jonathan Taylor is the key to what really is an efficient, explosive, versatile Colts offense. I'm taking Taylor.
I'll go with the complete, strategically next level Patriots defense. Who it's given up, what, like 36 points in 6 games or something?
Yeah.
Like 7 or 8 teams did that last week alone. And I think it's just more that you have an entire unit of people to attack the Colts in different ways. And I don't like the idea of everything hinging on Jonathan Taylor, who is an excellent player, but I'm going Colts defense.
Yeah, and I don't think that's probably the Colts' game plan either. It's not going to be like if Jonathan Taylor doesn't run for 100 yards, they have no chance. So I think it goes beyond just the Patriots defense and Jonathan Taylor. I could see Jonathan Taylor not having a great game, but the Colts still hanging in the game and scoring points.
That defense has also benefited from that same schedule, essentially, that you mentioned the Dolphins having. The Chargers are really the last good offense that they played.
All right, how about this? The Bengals offense, exciting, or the Broncos defense? Mark.
Bengals offense, because, I mean, I'm kind of hinging on Greg's, I just trust offense here. And now here's the thing. If you get the Bengals offense that's a little out of tune, see you later. But if you get the one that's scorched the Ravens, that's a couple times just absolutely taken teams apart with big plays, I'm going Bengals offense, but I'm kind of wish-casting this one, Greg.
Yeah, I'm wish-casting for the Broncos defense, who has played...
Double wish-cast.
Double wish-cast, who's played better lately, had a better pass rush, which is really important for them, but more importantly, the secondary, where they have so much talent, has locked down opponents, including the Chargers, pretty well. Here's the thing. Both these groups are a little overrated. In DVOA this year, both are 21st on the season, while both of the opposite sides of the ball are 12th. So these teams are literally mirror images going against each other.
The numbers don't lie, but we do.
The Bengals offense, I trust. I thought Jamar Chase becoming a real difference maker again last week might start a new trend in the season after he was started out on fire, got cold, maybe gets hot again, because that does make their offense a lot better. That is Who's Better.
Who's Better?
Presented by Truist. All right, coming up next, the Nfc East.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's Poppy's division.
Yeah,
That's
of course
what I
they're
call
first.
it.
We got the Truist guys in the back going, yeah, great seg. We love it.
Killed that seg. All right, Washington, Giants, Cowboys, Eagles up next. Welcome back to the second hour of the Around the NFL broadcast. I'm Dan Hanzus with Greg Rosenthal and Mark Sessler. At the top of the show, we shared some security footage proving that Mark comes into the office at 5 a.m. for a 10 a.m. taping. He denied it, even video proof. And I have to say, Mark, we have more.
Oh, my God.
For heaven's sake.
This is exciting.
Look, classic Sessler getting his Java fix.
Not my hair, not my body.
5:05 a.m. right there. Look at him. You know how to work that machine. Greg, you've seen him use that machine, right?
And that hoodie.
And that
those
hoodie.
khaki. The man loves khakis.
Now look at this.
Oh, what's he doing?
Now, this is offensive because someone used my desk property to film this.
What
Look at that.
are
This
you
is
even
your create-
talking
is
about?
this your
It says
creative
Mark
process?
Sessler. Yeah, that's.
Take us through the creative process at 5:10 in the morning.
I wish I could.
What else do we have?
He's just like he's like, I have to go in and work.
Oh,
really
wait
hard.
a second. It's the Greg Rosenthal football mural. What?
All right.
Mark, that's just disturbing.
Who is that really? I don't know.
I don't know. That's you.
Sammy Baugh, I think it is.
Sammy Boss, slinging
Finally,
Sammy.
Look at this. Look at
What
the timestamp.
is
5:30
happening?
comes it. Oh, look, he's doing a little
Oh.
housekeeping. Look
Wow.
at you. Oh, look at him getting ready in his chair.
Yeah, he wants his chair to be
Unbelievable.
higher than mine. I can see what's going on.
Unbelievable.
You know, a raging professional is what I see. Some nice method acting there by whoever. I want to know who.
Just
who played the
acknowledge
role.
it. Just acknowledge
It's
it.
you.
It's you.
All right. I mean, I guess you can say it's me if you want. It certainly is not.
The NFC East is up next. Greg, get us going with the division-leading Cowboys.
When I think about like the Cowboys, the journey we've been on, I wonder, have we like overrated our first impression? Like that first month of the season. I remember when Steve Weiss was sitting here in your place, Mark, one show, and he said how that first month of the season, defense is really trying to figure themselves out, and a lot of what you see in September is kind of fool's gold. And like September and early October, that was the Cowboys that we kind of think are supposed to be the Cowboys, and they haven't been offensively since then. And we see the names on the back of the jersey, but I guess I'm talking to myself here because I keep expecting that Cowboys team to come back, and it's just not there. It's been 7 or 8 weeks.
The one reason I would say we did not is that before Dak went out a year ago, they looked that explosive on offense. And then they were doing it again. But also, it's like, I think that we just sometimes look at anything Dallas does that's good, and we want to go back to this mythical time in America, a simpler time where the Cowboys ruled the roost. You know, you've got apple pie, comfortable lone shooter theories, that kind of stuff.
Wait, what was that?
I don't know. I'm just saying it's like it's like you got Jerry Jones. Like, look at our great team without.
It's like simpler times with like huge like drug-fueled controversies related to the Cowboys.
I have
fair.
to say, I think there's a simpler explanation. Before Dak Prescott got hurt, and after he came
I think
back,
that's a good one.
That
That's
also
good.
works.
I
he
like
has
that.
not been the same.
I like that. That's
They
good.
have not been the same because he is the most important player on the team, and he went from playing at an MVP level, then he hurts his calf, and he already had the existing leg injury from last year, and now he's just not been the same guy, and he doesn't play with the same level of confidence. He doesn't move as well to me, and he's missing throws. He'll hit some throws as well, but he's just become more of a scattershot entity, and that's holding him back.
It's strange because the QB gurus out there, you know the guys.
Oh, yeah.
Do the tapes.
Your Orlovskis of the world.
They go through like his decision-making process, and they see so many positives of what he's doing, and you see some big-time throws, and yet you're right. On a throw-to-throw basis, he's just not been the same. Maybe it's physical.
All right, how about the G-Men? We know this season is cooked for all intents and purposes, so we have to spin forward to the Giants. What's the first order of business, PG? PG being post-Gettleman. Dave Gettleman will either be dismissed as general manager or he'll retire, depending on what you're hearing. There's certainly no way I don't think that Gettleman comes back. So what do you do when you take over as GM? What would you do, Mark?
2 items. I would have every skill position player on offense undergo stem cell therapy to make sure these injuries don't happen year after year.
Then what?
Secondly, I would offer Bill Belichick about $44 million a year to come back to the organization that he became famous with and rise them back out of the ashes.
We've heard this rumor like every other year.
I mean, they need someone that they know can take them there.
Greg, how about you?
Yeah, why would they do that when
Let me try this again.
Belichick has his Mac Jones? It sounds cruel, but the other would be firing Joe Judge.
Okay.
I hate that because I hate talking about that, but I also hate what the Giants have done over the last stretch of years under this Mara ownership, and you got to put it on them, is that they keep not matching up their GM and their coach. They keep hiring one at a time. Okay, so Judge inherited Gettleman, who inherited Who was their last coach? They're so forgettable. Was it McAdoo? Like Shermer, who inherited a different GM, Reese, and then like it keeps not being matched up. I think that's what bad organizations do.
Recipe for failure.
You got to start over altogether.
And if you do a new GM, if you do a new head coach, you probably do a new quarterback, but this year is not very quarterback friendly in the draft we're hearing, even though the Giants have 2 top 10
You don't have to
picks.
worry about Daniel Jones because he's under contract. He doesn't cost a lot of money. Maybe you bring in another option too.
I'm just saying the way these things tend to work, you want your own guy and all that. It's going to be one of the more interesting, important off seasons in many years for the Giants.
Yeah, hard reboot.
It's been a long time.
Some stem cell research. Not a bad idea.
That's a creative idea.
The Belichick thing? All right, we've had that discussion.
Creative idea.
I mean, Amanda Belichick, his daughter, is a great lacrosse coach. Steve Belichick, I guess you could hire his son off the Patriots
Someone's going to at some
sideline.
point.
Yeah, leader of men, that guy. All right, how about the Washington football team, Mark?
Omicron won. The little football team that could 0. I really was enjoying the Washington experience, and they are one of the rash of teams that have been just decimated by the corona situation. I mean, you look at their defensive front. I think all but like 2 reliable starters / backup guys are even available at that point. Taylor Heineke has corona right now. I mean, this situation has Garrett Gilbert in line, we think, to start potentially. Big disaster.
Ron Rivera expressed some optimism that some of the players, and I'm thinking of Jonathan and Allen, for instance, that was earlier in the week, maybe some of the players from last week could return for their game. And so as we tape, we don't know exactly who's available, but the injuries that they've had on top of the COVID-19, I think should not be forgotten because they are one of the most injured teams. And so you look at their roster and they are kind of the zombie Washington football team right now. It stinks because it feels like they have no chance.
Who did you say was the quarterback? Gilbert Gottfried?
No, it's not. I mean, it's close, but it's Garrett Gilbert.
I would run like a kind of a hybrid using his legs and his arm attack with Gottfried. That's what I would do.
Yeah, well, he's very versatile. He's versatile. We have no tape on him, so you can surprise, the element of surprise.
All right, because the Omicron crisis is impacting Washington, I don't want to talk about it anymore. So let's move to the Philadelphia Eagles. Keep us going, Mark Sessler.
All right, listen up, football gods. This is my 7th seed, and I need it to be.
Yeah.
I'm having feelings about the Eagles. They've scored like 34 plus in games since Halloween, outside of that one Giants disaster where there was a meltdown. But if Jalen Hurts is healthy and you get the pieces around him, I just think this is a team that could go into the playoffs as that last seed and create a little bit of havoc. They're so strong on both lines. I love what Nick Sirianni has done. Basically just the self-belief to turn them into a completely different type of offense midstream, and one that I think could survive a playoff game or 2, or just be a nice team in one playoff game. How about that?
I'm with you. I love this team. Any team that can run the ball like this is a Mark Sessler type of team.
Bingo.
It's like a big, tough football men team. If you look at the pass rush win rate, guys like Josh Sweat and Derek Barnett are underrated. They're not the best pass rushers, but they get a lot of pressures. Cox is good on the inside. Hargrave is good. This is a fun team. I've been overrating them all year, and then I did the thing where I gave up at just the wrong point, and then they went on a run. That's on me, but they've had belief the whole time.
So they're 6-7.
Right.
They are currently in the 9th spot.
I think they're going to make it. Look at their schedule.
They win their tiebreaker over Atlanta based on head-to-head win percentage. Division tiebreaker was initially used to eliminate New Orleans. I mean, there is some
They
things
have
in play
Washington
here.
twice in the next 3 weeks.
Right.
They're catching Washington at the right time this week, and maybe in general. Giants in the middle, and then you finish with the Cowboys. That's a winnable schedule. 3-1 gets you in.
We got to see how the quarterback situation shapes up here. I wonder if Gardner Minshew, whether Jalen Hurts comes back and plays well or plays poorly, or Minshew gets another chance. Does that become a big story in Philly?
I mean, it
kind of feels on brand.
It will in Philly, but I don't think the coaching staff's going to change their direction. Jalen Hurts is the guy the minute he's ready to be.
We'll see.
I like Minshew more than most humans, too, but I'm just saying,
you don't get the same running game pop out of Minshew. I think they have a nice situation. They've got two young quarterbacks that they like. Not many teams do.
That was the NFC East. And we roll on now. Hit the NFC West. Now this is a saucy division. You got the Cardinals coming off a humbling loss. You got the Rams surging. You got the Niners. And even the Seattle Seahawks. They're saying, we're still here. We're not dead yet.
For now.
Up next. Welcome back. We roll on with the NFC West division, and let's start, Greg, with the Cardinals coming off a tough loss, but is it time to panic?
It is not time to panic.
Okay.
Everybody stay calm.
Okay.
Just
I love it.
Chill out. Everybody stay calm. No, I don't know. I just think the Cardinals are fine. Like, they lost a close game against a really good division opponent on a night where they had 2 fourth-down plays that went against them. Deandre Hopkins dropping a pass inside the 5. James Conner on a play that I thought was blocked up well, and he had a great night, just didn't see the right hole, gets stopped, and it happens. Like, they split their season series with the Rams. I'm not worried at all.
Greg is speaking my love language. I don't know if you know about that book, but this is the thing. The Cardinals have not looked bad in any game all year. They went toe-to-toe with the Packers and barely lost that game. I think this was the one game where you looked at some Kyler Murray mistakes. I still think he played really well in it. My interest in them is higher than ever. My faith in them is high. My worrying over them does not exist right now. I mean, the one thing about them is I wouldn't love them not winning. Well, no, but if they need home field. I don't like the idea of them having to go somewhere cold or somewhere wet, because that's not where you're going to get Kyler Murray at his best.
Not to be someone that's just playing the card of the other side of this. What do they call that again?
The I don't believe
Devil's advocate.
Devil's advocate.
You're not staying calm. We know
First of all, the Panthers kicked their butts. That was a bad loss.
Okay.
So that's 1 point.
But that was Colt McCoy.
Point 2, I thought it was notable that it's been all fun and games this year, but once we got into the crucible of a huge primetime game in December, they lose at home. Big spot. Number 3, DeAndre Hopkins is out for the rest of the regular season at the very least. You lose the most important player to Kyler Murray at the most critical juncture of the season. I'm not saying panic. I'm just saying maybe let's pump the brakes on the hyper optimism that nothing can go wrong the rest of the way.
Chilled out.
I think your point, though, that they haven't been in big games with Kyler Murray, and they have to have those experiences. And you're right, the first couple, including that Packers game, haven't gone perfectly. You want to win those games. But I think if you were like just writing down a resume, like a job application of like who has the best resume for the 2021 season, it's actually the Cardinals still. Like, that's not how you do power rankings.
I'm hiring the Packers, but yeah.
I just mean, like, they've won on average by 16 points on the road. The quality of the teams they've beaten.
They put the big boy pants on them, and they fell right down.
Your Packers love, though, is mine for Arizona, because it's not fun to just like the same
They tried
team.
to pull up their big boy pants at a big spot, and they went straight down to their ankles.
Well, they'll fit next time.
Let's get some actual big boy pants in for the next segment.
All right, Rams. This is why Sean McVay went to Cabo and found Matthew Stafford. Oh, and they're saying, it was actually happenstance. What a meet cute this was. They were on vacation and the seeds were planted for the big trade. Whatever happened, I don't care. But this is why this game, this performance, where Matthew Stafford played like an absolute superstar. Here's the big boy pants. You've been trapped in Detroit for a dozen years. Do you want to try these on? Perfect fit on Matt Stafford on this stage. And I just think it bodes very well for the Rams. As long as Stafford can stay physically healthy, he's going to win big games down the stretch.
First of all, the way they looked last week in this game, you just could project them as a Super Bowl winner. I mean, they looked that good, and it looked like the plan was working that well. So that's the ceiling, and I don't disagree with that. But we can't just do what we did to the Cardinals and not look at some of the Stafford games that have been questionable. That said, I think he's growing more comfortable in this offense weekly.
Did you see those pants, though?
He wore the big boy pants, but we have to look at the whole schedule. They have had some up and down moments.
Of course they have, and I don't erase all that. They really did struggle before that, but I do put more stock into the timing of when these things happen.
Too.
They're evolving and growing. I think even Odell Beckham, they've got a big issue with Corona this week. Like that's another team that like you wonder what's going to happen with that.
They're in this strange spot though in terms of being the 5th seed in the NFC. Now the Cardinals have the Lions this week, but then have 3 pretty challenging games. They could catch up and pass the Cardinals, but most likely they're going to have a better record than the Cardinals to win that division. They're probably not getting the tiebreaker. So to them, it's kind of like the Bucs a year ago. I think you just need to be playing your best the whole final month. You might have to go win the Super Bowl as a wild card, and they have enough talent to do it. I really do think.
Agreed.
All right, let's move on to the Seattle Seahawks. Mr. Mark Sessler.
I mean, here's the thing with the Seahawks. like this is the thing I've been holding in my little jacket pocket. Okay.
The props. He had the Brooks. He had the Christmas card early.
Well, I mean, we do
So
it.
many
We used to do a thing on our show where we would fork teams that we didn't believe in, and you had to do it earlier before everyone else didn't believe. And
Did you get that fork at the cafeteria at 5 a.m.?
Yes, I did. I forked the Seahawks about 7 weeks ago, by the way. And we're sticking with it. This dog and pony show is running on fumes at this point. I know Greg wants to, maneuver them mathematically into that 7th spot. I've already told you I need the Eagles to be in that spot. So one of these 32 teams needs to do what I say.
We don't need the Seattle Seahawks in the playoffs either. I'm with the Eagles, and as a Jets fan, I want the Seahawks to keep losing because the draft pick keeps getting better. The Jets own that pick. However, as annoying as it is, Mark, and when we fork teams, it means they have no chance to be in the mix. They are in the mix right now, and if they ever found a way to beat the Rams, look out, buddy, because it's Bears, it's Lions, and then at Arizona, and they have a chance to absolutely steal that wild card spot. It's in play.
Right.
No, I feel a little tremor of concern.
This is the week. They don't have Tyler Lockett, or they're not expected to because of COVID-19, but the Rams are missing so many more players that it gives them a better opportunity. This is a rivalry game that Sean McVay's absolutely owned against Pete Carroll. I was up there in Seattle one time. I think it was like 43-8 that Jared Goff and the Rams put it on him in a rainy December day. So it hasn't been traditionally a good matchup. There's no reason to think that they would win, but if they do, Mark, this thing's going to Week 18 at the very least.
I know it is.
But
it's just the way the
at
NFC
the same time, I would say that little prop fork that you threw on the ground, I know you wanted to have some unpaid interns sweep up after all your props.
It's a big test. I wasn't going to mention it's a big test.
I don't operate that way.
I would say pick up the fork, keep it with your items for Sunday night show, and if things go against the Seahawks, you could safely jab them for good.
Yeah,
I'll bring a
They'll be
sharper
done.
fork.
They'd be done.
All right. Up next, Mark, the Niners.
All right, I love the whole Deebo Samuel as running back thing. It's been like, it kind of shows everything I love about Kyle Shanahan, the creativity. I mean, you just don't know what's coming. But I do wonder if we're kind of losing what was one of the most powerful aspects of the team, which was Deebo Samuel through the air. He has 3 catches over the last 3 weeks. And I know, Dan, he's on your fantasy team, and there's that element of annoyance. But I mean, he's just an incredible player. Are they using him enough? In that way, he had 198 yards against the Lions in Week 1. He has 4 100-yard performances. He's one of the best wideouts in the league. I want to see a little more of that part of him.
I love this, and not just because of my fantasy annoyance, because he's still scoring every week on the ground, so it's not that big a deal from that aspect. But at the same time, yes, the Deebo Samuel that would run these curl routes or little crossing routes, catch the ball over the middle, and then he never gets tackled by the first tackler, and then he makes a move, and all of a sudden a 7-yard gain is 37 yards. They are not giving him as many opportunities in space when they just hand the ball off to him. So I'm with you on this.
I mean, don't you think Kyle Shanahan knows this? Agrees
No,
with
I think
you guys?
now he does because we presented the idea.
No, I think what happened is Brandon Ayuk finally came into his own here, and it's allowed Shanahan to use Deebo how he wants.
And Kittle.
It's game flow. Kittle's had a big couple of weeks. Maybe Deebo's not 100%, not running as crisp routes. He'll get there. I think Shanahan loves setting up opponents even in future weeks. So now he's going to use the threat of that run. He'll use it as a receiver. My takeaway is don't worry about your little fantasy team. I think he's going to soar in the playoffs.
All right, it's not a little team; it's the defending champion. And
I think worrying about Deebo Samuel not getting the PPR points. I'm not worried about that. I think he's going to have a lot of points for you in general.
Please, from your lips to God's ears, my friend.
I do think that we've probably
you get a bye week
seed into Shanahan's head.
You do as a regular season champ.
See, isn't that annoying though? Because I think look at this matchup against the Falcons. This might be a 8 catches, 112 yards. He's got to have a rushing touchdown.
It's always that thing. It's just stay healthy and don't have too good a week.
But you've already won, so that's even better.
Yeah, that's true. All right. Enough talk about my fantasy team.
Never enough.
That is it for the NFC West, but we're not done yet. Not even close. Up next, the NFC North. Oh, boy. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's Andy Dalton's division now, punks. It's all Dalton.
This show
the
is
sell
long.
has been made. You will be back after this break. Welcome back to the broadcast. It's time now to hit the NFC North Division, and let's start with the Packers. And I got news for you guys that the Packers have already lost for the last time this season.
Oh, wow.
This is the Super Bowl champion.
Wow.
This is a team that is playing as well as anyone, and I look at their schedule, their remaining schedule. I see nothing but open pasture, and then I see a bye week, and then I see 2 playoff wins in the NFC side of things, and then a big W right here in Los Angeles. Tell me I'm wrong. That's a spoiler alert.
Well, so essentially there's no reason for us to continue to do this show or any other show or our podcast because the result is known based on your crystal ball.
That's a weird way to look at it.
That's why I hesitated to tell you, because I didn't want to affect your enjoyment of the rest of the season. But
what about the viewers' enjoyment?
I would enjoy it fine, even knowing that.
Out of the bag.
I want to see how it happens. There's a lot else that could go. On one
Greg,
hand,
you're very weird.
I
like,
want
most people
to.
would not.
Yeah, that's true. I want to, save this, clip it, and then shove it in Dan's face next week when they lose to the Ravens or something. But if I'm being totally honest, I was asked this week, in one of those radio appearances, if you had to pick one team for the Super Bowl, you bet your entire life on it. And I picked the Packers too, so I guess I'm kind of with you because I don't see the regular season loss. I'm 100% with you on that. The Vikings seem like the biggest test for them. No offense to your Browns.
No doubt. No doubt. Everything that I know about Aaron Rodgers and his run with the Packers tells me there's no chance that they could be off in January.
Ooh,
one of these games where he's 1,000-yard stare. Aaron Rodgers, just a little. No, I mean it's they were 15-1 that one year and got destroyed by the Giants. It's something will
I see the Bears fans in the back just pumping their fists. So yeah, they're gonna lose in the NFC Championship again. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a Packers fan. I do enjoy watching them play.
You almost are.
But I'm just telling you the truth. They're the best team with the best quarterback, and they have a favorable schedule. And nobody's going to beat them.
They're going to get better. They're more. I'm with you. There's something special about this team.
Especially with those Cardinals big boy pants on their ankles right now.
That's a narrative that you're selling or attempting to.
All right, Mark. Now, this is a team I do love, the Vikings.
I know you do, and it makes me, it's hard for me to tell you this, but over yonder, something evil.
Oh, no, I believe that.
Something evil, and it's not just the close games. I'm looking at their schedule, okay? They've got the Bears. You're going to win that game, maybe. Who knows with this team? Then you've got the Rams and your beloved Packers. Both teams were, telling you we're going to be in the NFC title game. Bye-bye. The journey has hit a big old stone wall.
The NFC is weird because I think an 8-win team, an 8-9 team, could make the playoffs. And so sweeping the Bears would actually get you to 8, or even just winning one of those 2 tough games. Maybe you can even get to 9. What I feel like is happening here is Mark noticed that Dan locked up the Vikings this week on our podcast. It's a very competitive lock championship race. I'm not involved in it this year, but these two are. And he's just going to be living and dying He's going to buy his Justin Fields jersey. He is a Bears fan for all.
You have to root for the Bears on Monday night. Congratulations.
It is probably the last team that I would philosophically jump on board with right now, but fair enough.
See, that Vikings schedule, you're right. There's losses there. But that's assuming we know anything about the Vikings and who's going to show up week to week. I think they can win all those games. I think they could lose all those games.
You've just told us the Packers will not lose again.
Well, I'm saying they can. I'm not saying they will. I think what ends up happening is they do get 3 wins.
Ooh.
They get to the playoffs.
Yes.
And then they absolutely rip the beating hearts out of everyone in the Midwest that roots for the Vikings on a really bad playoff loss in a game they should win. I think this ends in Greek tragedy because it's been pointing that way all year, but I think they have a nice little closing run in them to really get the hopes up to maximum levels.
Very painful, very destabilizing for the Vikings fan base.
Also, it's the scenario where Zimmer and Spielman stick around another year because they made it at 9-8, and everyone's like, is this the right decision? Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
I want that team in. 49ers 6, Vikings 7. That's a nice little wild
That would
card.
be nice, but the reason why the 3-1 finish doesn't quite check out is because they don't take care of business. So they could sweep the two. They could beat the Packers and the Rams and then lose to the other teams.
Bears, for the Bears in week 8.
They'll lose that Bears game and get knocked out right there.
Greg, on those Bears.
I've been thinking about Matt Nagy, because you look at his overall record, and everyone points out it's great. It's it's better than Kyle Shanahan. I think he takes more heat than most coaches because the Bears have played the last 4 years exclusively in primetime. I don't know if you know that. All 17 weeks. NBC, Amazon, they're on, Monday night this week. Sunday night a week ago. That's it. It's just like no mediocre team plays in primetime more than the Chicago Bears. I think that's the biggest problem Matt Nagy has.
It is one of the strangest NFL trends that I can recall, because it does seem year to year there seems to be a standout Bears primetime island game where everyone is shaking their head thinking.
But there's 7 of them. There's like 7 of them.
Right.
Don't check the stats, but it feels like there's 7 or 8 of them.
Yeah, and I think Matt Nagy is Adam Gase of 2021. There's always one coach, and it wasn't even Urban Meyer, because Urban Meyer was such a mess. He was an outlier. But there's always one coach who's kind of a dead man walking, with all due respect, who is, from about week 6 onward that this is the end, but he hangs around the whole year. That's Nagy this year. It's a tough place to live. And then when you compound that with the fact that they play in a big market and get all these primetime games, it's had to be, I know not a lot of people want to, say I'm on Nagy corner, and I feel for the guy. But it has not been an easy year for the man, I would think, on a personal level.
No, and I feel I've thought about this too, though. I feel bad. We had him on our show at the owners' meetings and had a delightful conversation with him, then spent the next 900 days verbally lashing him. It's just not an easy thing to.
It's a tough business.
You know what? He had some nice play calls last week, I thought, with Justin Fields.
He played hard for him, too.
I want to see Justin Fields have a good, solid month here. I feel like it's been up and down. He's shown some things, I think, but I wouldn't say it's been like a consistently upward trending development.
Yeah, this is a nice spot, the primetime game against the Vikings team that's known to let teams get hot and score points in bunches. We shall see how it all plays out. The Lions. Mark, you have a term, the berserker.
Correct.
My question to you is, can we take a look at the remaining slate?
How about that?
The remaining slate for the Lions versus Mark's beloved Cardinals, who have to pull their pants up or get a belt, at the Falcons. That's another team that somehow has playoff hopes still. At the Seahawks, another team that thinks it has a chance to get in the playoffs if they win out. And then versus the Packers team that's looking to lock up potentially the number 1 seed. Lions, do you think they could beat any of these teams or a couple of these teams and really mess up some years in a berserker style? Do they have that DNA within?
I wouldn't typically. Berserker guidelines would not have a 1-win team at this stage in the season operating as a berserker, yet they're the most enjoyable 1-win team on the planet Earth. And so I do think that, when you look at that Falcons game, they could end their season right there.
Yeah, they're
they
the
could
only
end someone else's season. Was Seattle one of them? I was drifting off during the schedule thing, but yes.
Well, try to stay focused. We're here in the studio.
You're right. You're right. It would be a good time to be focused. I do think that they have shown an ability to stay close with these teams. Now, they got waxed a week ago, but they beat the Vikings. I mean, that's a team we've just put into the playoffs. So why not?
They put T.J. Hawkinson on injured reserve this week.
Good takes, Mark.
Their dead money going into the year was $65 million, which is just outrageous. I've never heard of a team having that much. That is the ultimate rebuilding reboot year where ownership is understanding. We're just going to flush this money away, move on to next year. Now, if you look at the injured reserve money that's gone, it's $48 million more. So, the vast majority of their salary cap is taken up with players that are not available. I don't know if they have a lot left, is what I'm trying to say.
This was a rebuilding year to start. I mean, they've got 2 first-round picks, but
they might have a little bit of a letdown after that 1 win. I felt it a little bit in that Denver game. It's like, well, we got that win.
They tied the Steelers, too, making that 8-1 record possible. So they've done a lot of heroic things.
They got the one win. That's very important. It behooves them perhaps not to win again, but that's not what Dan Campbell's all about. That was the NFC North. We roll on. Up next, the NFC South, which houses, the defending Super Bowl champions, but also the Falcons. They're plucky as hell. And also the Panthers. They're just depressing. And don't forget about the Saints, who Greg loves because he went to Tulane. Up next.
Great.
Season ticket holder.
Oh, yeah, one more division. It's the NFC South. Mark, can you please get us going with the defending champs?
I will. The Bucs. Okay, they're going to go 14-3, and then what? This is my counter to Dan's Packers obsession because the rest of their schedule after this week is Panthers, Jets, Panthers. So, A, they're winning all those games. And to me, I think we just don't even – sometimes the Bucs in this situation, in this show, get kind of left behind or overlooked to some degree. Greg, I'm going to throw you a tennis comp, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. I feel like they're kind of like Pete Sampras, who, when he was playing, was like the best tennis player on the planet, but somehow incredibly boring. There's no drama around the Bucs, which is a great thing in a team. But like the Packers have all this endless drama with their quarterback telling you, "Hey, we're going to ditch your team and come back if I feel,
The Packers are Andre Agassi.
Well, that's fine. I like that. But, I mean, does that work, Pete Sampras?
No.
Okay.
Because
well, I don't know tennis.
No one did more to hurt the popularity of the game of tennis than Pete Sampras being the best player, especially in America.
What a takedown.
Here's why. Because he was totally boring to watch. And I don't find the Bucs boring to watch at all. You have great players making great plays. And you're right. Maybe in the regular season, there's not a ton of narrative drama. But that game last week was a lot of fun against the Bills. This week, I think, will be good against the Saints. And I'm not sick of watching Tom Brady. Maybe that's the homer in me. And once they get to the playoffs, it's the defending champs. You're going to have to knock the champs out. They have had a very worthy defense of this championship.
I'm just saying they're kind of drama-free.
But that's
your
perfect.
Agassi thing.
Right, but Sampras, you turned it on, it was like watching paint dry. I don't find that with the Bucs.
Sampras just keeps on taking
The Bucs get overlooked, though, in terms of, like, they just do for some reason. I don't know what it is.
They get plenty of primetime love. It's Tom Brady that's the quarterback.
Right.
The Patriots game was fun. The Bills game was fun.
When you're
they're not fun.
When you're the defending Super Bowl champion, all you want to do is just get back to January. That's all the regular season
is.
Ice
people and get back.
Just get back, get through all like the potential hangover of the Super Bowl, avoid injuries because you got probably good injury luck the year before. Everything is going perfectly for the Bucs right now.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's going to end at the NFC Championship at the hands of the Packers at Lambeau, but that's a whole other conversation.
It will not be.
Can't wait for the playoffs this year, huh? I hope they happen. Greg, how about the Saints?
This Saints team is one I feel close to. You mentioned I went to two. I just don't know if you know that about me. I went to college in New Orleans, and so I have a connection with the city that's just special. I mean, look at that. Tulane, Green Wave, back in the day. I don't know if you knew that. Undefeated in 1998.
In what? Like intramural sports?
In football, 11-0. Sean King, Mewelde Moore.
National champion of what?
College football. I mean, I say they were. There was no BCS back then.
How do we operate with facts?
I guess what I was just more saying is I feel like you guys don't have this connection to the culture and to the Saints. Do you understand? I don't know if you read that lower third. We got into the pretty small font there.
Oh yeah. Good.
So I just understand this team. That's all.
Well, so Greg, I'll ask you a question. When the Bucs win the division this weekend, what will the vibe be on Bourbon Street in this town that you intimately know so well? Tell us what the vibe will be.
I think the Saints are going to put up a great fight here, and I'm fascinated by this team. I think they're better than their record. They're the one defense that gives Tom Brady problems. They're going to lose a heartbreaking game, but the Saints fans will recognize the effort for what it was, and they'll be proud, and they'll be drinking with some hope, actually, that they could still get a wild card. That's what they'll do.
All right.
I think the Saints, if you look at their schedule ahead, even if they lose this game against the Bucs, it's going to be a very tough one, obviously. There is a path, and I do need, just because we are, first and foremost, a news program, the facts have to be right at the forefront. It's not about being first, it's about being right. And in 1998, the college football season, the championship was played between Tennessee and Florida State, with the University of Tennessee beating the Seminoles 23-16 in the 1999 Fiesta Bowl.
I mean, who's to say in college football? It's like ice skating. It's like people judging
who owns
won.
a shirt that's just a lie?
Tulane played 11 games that year. They won all 11. It's not our fault. They stuck them in the Liberty Bowl to stomp a bunch of BYU.
You got beat by BYU?
No, they stomped them. They beat them by 35, and we were like, oh, great. We beat BYU by 35.
This is an important thing to bring up, 21 years later.
When you got to talk Saints 17 straight weeks, you mix it up every time.
18. Greg, Falcons.
That's a good point. I think Arthur Smith has shown enough this year. That's what I'm taking out because I don't think the Falcons are going to make the playoffs. I've enjoyed them, but I think Arthur Smith has shown enough that he's going to be okay.
He's always disappointed on the sideline.
He doesn't like totally
Perfectionist.
look like a coach. I think he did a good job with his hiring. I like Dean Pease. I think they've coached up this team
Did you
as
say
well
he doesn't
as they
totally look like a coach?
Yeah, there's something that's like not inspiring to me about like he always seems like a little annoyed or just like I don't.
He's got more of an OC vibe than a big chair vibe.
Right. That's it
All right.
exactly.
That
Guys on his team are playing better with him than they were with the old staff, like Russell Gage, Matt Ryan, for instance, Cordarrelle Patterson. I think that's a great sign.
Yeah, they have 2 more wins than they did a year ago already, and all they need is 1 more to match what Dan Quinn did the 2 years prior, going 7-9. I'm with you. I mean, they're last in the league in team DVOA, yet they don't look that way in a lot of these games. And I think if you look at like Cordarrelle Patterson, that kind of creativity, what he's done with a player like that, I want you to see a little more from Kyle Pitts, but Kyle Pitts looks like he's going to be a star forever. I'm with you. I think that they've done a lot with a little. I mean, they
need more players.
They do.
Especially on defense.
The record, I mean, with another coaching staff, they'd have 2 or 3 wins.
I agree. Well, their record's a little misleading to me, but hey, they did what they did. They're the worst team in the league according to DVOA, but they're 6-7. So there's some schedule luck and some breaks that went their way. I think that's part of this. But I'm with you that Arthur Smith is a guy that has made the most out of a little here. I brought it up on this show. I don't think Matt Ryan is a good fit for where they're at as an organization or where Arthur Smith is in his career. It would be great if they got somebody more athletic and young in that position, and then you start to build around those playmakers. Hopefully Calvin Ridley gets into a healthy emotional mind space, and he's back and all that. But Ryan is the guy hanging over everything because I think he's going to hold back Arthur Smith at this stage in his career.
I think, yeah, but he won't stop them from trying to get a young quarterback. I don't think.
I think they should. I think it's that time.
They're doing it.
You can have both.
All right, Panthers. I think it's fair to ask, does Matt Rule deserve another chance? He signed a big deal in early 2020, a lot of fanfare, but it has not worked out in 2 years. In fact, it's one of those things where not only has the team not progressed, there's been a lot of hits. He's been getting dinged a lot. There's been a lot of reports and a lot of failings that have been very public now. And I'm just wondering.
Your boy, Mark.
David Tepper, and this isn't an attack at you, Mark, or anything, but I'm just wondering if David Tepper looks at this and says, do I want to get into year 3, or do I cut my losses, eat the money, and find someone that's better at this?
I think we're seeing that teams, and especially certain owners, and I don't know David Tepper, but he's an aggressive, want-to-win-now guy.
You hear that a lot.
Right. So I mean, maybe you get
I don't know what
like
it means exactly anymore, but we do hear it a lot.
maybe you get a decision then that would surprise a lot of us had we known this a couple months ago. I think that the offseason planning has been the biggest problem for Rule and Tepper combined. They have not gotten a quarterback. I mean, they've made terrible decisions around the most important position. What else will hinder your growth quicker than having the wrong quarterback 2 years in a row? Sorry, Greg, but Teddy Bridgewater was a bridge, and this year's been an utter disaster on that.
I mean,
front.
they would have won more games if they just kept him. That's the decision-making process, though, that has failed. Going to Darnold was a catastrophe. I think he does deserve a 3rd season because I think in general, I would lean towards getting the 3rd season. Once you're that team that just keeps cycling in every 2 years, I think you have to be at a really low level of coaching. And I don't think they've been that bad. I think they're like the flip side of the Falcons where some things have gone against them. The quarterback decisions have killed them. But I don't think he's a disastrous coach. He's like a middle-of-the-road coach.
You know what I think is going to happen? Because I give him a 3rd year, see what happens. But I think he becomes 2020 Adam Gase, 2021 Matt Nagy, 2022 is going to be Matt Rule, who enters the year on the hot seat. And if it goes poorly initially, it's going to be a long trip to the end of the road. I think he's in a very vulnerable state, put it that way.
TBD, what happens over the next 3 months and what they get at quarterback, because that could change everything.
They're very
There's going to be some
aggressively
names
here
out
now.
there. Right.
So far, aggressive.
He wants to win.
He gets what he wants. It's Teddy Bridgewater and Sam Darnold and a lot of losses.
Well, no, I know you're being utterly sarcastic, but like they went after Stafford. They went after a bunch of guys and didn't get it. You've got to seal the deal.
You got to get them.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we're going to talk about history.
Ooh.
Making history. All-time players. No way. Yes way. No way. Yes way. Up next.
Now that's a tease.
Disturbing.
All right, welcome back to the broadcast. Now, we like to play a game called No Way, Yes Way.
You like it best, just so you can say that.
Greg and I feel
love
held
it.
hostage.
I do
to
love
some
it.
degree,
I do
but-
like it.
So No Way, Yes Way. Is Micah Parsons the best rookie defensive player since Lawrence Taylor? Ring a bell?
Yes, it does.
Lawrence Taylor, the New York Giants super duper star. Some say the greatest linebacker to ever play the game. I think it was 1981. He came into the league, took it over. Has anyone ever approached those heights? I don't know. What about Micah Parsons?
Yes way.
No.
I say he is. It's tough. I went through the list. I can't, but if it's like pre-2003 when it's doing it for work, it's hard to really remember. But you look at the stats. I think one case you could make would be Ndamukong Suh, his rookie year. People kind of
good
forget.
one.
First team All-Pro, 10 sacks as a defensive tackle. Suh was kind of a force of nature coming into the league, was immediately the very best at his position. That said, I've got Parsons in my top 4 for Defensive Player of the Year, so I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth unless I say yes way.
All right, Mark. No Way, Yes Way.
Yes way. That's what I'm saying. I think so. I mean, you could look at someone like Mark Carrier, who played a different position, but had 10 interceptions as a rookie.
Mark Carrier in a big
Wow.
spot.
Well,
Or that was the type of thing I wasn't trying to say, because that would be pretending I knew more than I knew. How could I say Mark Carrier?
I think we watched Mark Carrier. I mean, Derek
didn't.
I
Thomas.
get goosebumps when I think Mark Carrier. What about Reggie White? Now, he's an interesting case.
Yeah.
USFL, he starts there. So he's not a true rookie, but he came to the Eagles and was
Oh.
immediately a monster.
But not a true rookie, though.
And look at this.
I don't
HD.
count
Because a lot of these guys blew up, like Derek Thomas and others, like
It's like
J.J.
when they-
Watt's second year.
It's like when they gave Warren Moon Rookie of the Year and he'd already had 20,000 yards in the season.
That doesn't
It's
count.
a little cheap.
I was thinking about, and then I talked to our good buddy, Bob Glauber, who works over at Newsday
Legend.
in New York.
Bob.
He's a legend.
Yes, way.
He wrote an entire book about the NFC East, and he covered the teams back in the 80s. And he said nobody really touches LT.
No,
Joe
Parsons
Green
not
before
close.
LT had that type of impact. But even a guy like, let's go more recent years, like Darrelle Revis, a monster in year 2. J.J. Watt, a monster in year 2. You see that a lot. Derek
Right.
Thomas, monster year 2. But year 1?
Wasn't he the MVP? Am I crazy? I think he was Defensive Player of the Year the same year.
But by the way, if it's best since LT, yes way.
Yep.
Better than LT?
No,
No.
no way. But it's an amazing company. Wow.
Belichick said LT could have played any position on defense and played it at an all-pro level.
I believe.
That type of talent. The Michael Jordan of linebackers. You like to throw that little Michael Jordan thing in just to get people pumped
We've
up.
compared about 14 players to Michael Jordan.
All right, there you go. That was No AS way. And we've really established that Parsons is a special talent either way. All right, weekend vibes. Coming up next, we have
Vibin'.
some good news to share. Well, good news for the people of Jacksonville. Early Christmas present. He gone.
Are we breaking that news?
Coming up next, we tell you who just got fired. All right, time for weekend vibes. And speaking of vibes, look at this is a vibe right here. Greg Rosenthal on the wall there.
You guys
Mark
jealous?
Sessler.
You guys jealous I got that
30.
mural?
522.
My hair is a weird color.
What's up with the caressing though? Also, and then an actual kiss.
Oh, I didn't see
On
that.
his
Wow,
lips.
thanks, buddy.
Mark, why
I
so
have
emotionally attached to a
I
wall?
have no
There's my.
response
I
at
just
this
want to see
point.
my
Ooh, I
hand
like this
retune
intimacy.
to that.
No
Yeah, it's
response
nice.
to this. This has become totally absurd.
All right, Mark, speaking of yourself, what's your weekend vibe?
My vibe? Well, I mean, we're at the point where on Washington, you're down to your
over.
fifth center. And who is that guy? Well, it's John Toth, who, when he's not playing football and operating as a pivot, is a plus-size male model, we learned this week on Twitter. I think that's kind of fascinating. So maybe you could
What a
distract.
hunk of beef.
What is his name? John Toth?
What's not to like? Exactly. What's not to like, Greg?
It's an interesting thought that plus size includes like extremely athletic, in great shape. So that's good. It expands my mind.
Maybe we could fit two of you
What
inside
that
of him
means.
easily. So
That's a head of lettuce, by the way. He's
Right.
got on
yeah.
him.
Well, that's why he's a model.
And I don't want to objectify him and just reduce him down to his physical looks because he's a great football player. He's a pro.
Right.
I don't care if he's fifth string.
Okay,
big
fine. Well,
big
what-
guys get a lot of pop of like, oh, it's tough to buy big clothes, big and tall stores. Like, not a lot of talk about the small and like scrawny.
Small and
clothes.
sturdy.
It's kind of hard to find clothes for me. Look how big this sweatshirt is. All right,
it's a journey, Greg.
My weekend vibe this week is about Urban Meyer. I found it hilarious when Urban Meyer was fired that the Jaguars became bigger favorites by 2 more points. So he is worth -2 points to an NFL team, and that might be underselling it.
That's good value.
We put a number on it.
That actually checks out perfectly. By the way, trying to find when I'm looking like the shot on the racks at a store, and it's like I'm looking for like an L or an XL, and there's always small and medium available, always. So I
Not a
don't
lot
feel
of
sorry
smalls.
for you.
Not a lot of smalls.
Finally, congrats to Jason Kleinman of the NFL media team. His family welcomed in a beautiful baby girl named Ruby.
Wow.
And would you look at that? That is a beautiful young girl. And look at Kleinman looking the part of the proud dad. That, it's great to see the families expand here at the network. We've been
Congrats,
working with each other
Jason.
for a while.
And most importantly, we'll test if you watch the show or not to see if.
good call.
See if you get it. That's a beautiful baby. Everyone says babies
Gets
are
like
beautiful.
7
That
weeks
one's
off. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Kleinman, get the most of that paternity leave. Wring every drop out of it. Enjoy it, everybody. Enjoy the football. We'll see you next week.